I'm shorts on too.
Good morning. I'd like to officially call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, June 2nd. Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll join me for the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this glorious day that you have given us and all of the blessings you have bestowed upon us. With faith in you, we'll look for your guidance in all the matters that come before us on this day. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Okay, we'll have the signing of the journal, and then I'll accept a motion to approve the DVD recording from the previous board session from Thursday, May 28th, and the written index of such.
Make a motion, we approve it as outlined.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved, thank you. This time, any adjustments to the agenda, from the printed agenda that we have before us?
I need to bring up a board date, moving some things around for a board date.
Okay. Anything from Commissioner Kirschner?
Do we need to add executive session or are we just assuming?
That's on the schedule in the back.
Okay, very good.
Okay. And then I guess I'll just propose, because doesn't look like a short list, but it'll be a fairly quick list, that we run through. We'll flip-flop our new business and old business, given that, and we can flip-flop the order of the old business if we wish to do so as well, given that I'm making an assumption that there are several folks here that have interest in the Justice Center topic, and will want to maybe voice opinions during the citizens' comments of that. So I'd hate for us to discuss an old business, do our new business, and then get to citizens' comments. So let's run through the new business, because that will be fairly quickly, and then we'll get right to the old business, and we'll do the Justice Center first.
Okay, I have bill vouchers 2084. I have a resolution authorizing the contract service agreement with Renegade for the window repairs, storm windows at the Seneca County Museum. These are the ones that the foundation has graciously paid for. I have a resolution hiring Bailey Hickman as an intermittent maintenance worker for the Seneca County Maintenance Department through the TANF Youth Employment Program. We put Job and Family Services employees underneath our maintenance, so this is not actually for our maintenance. Job and Family will be using these for the summer program. I have a resolution establishing the Seneca County 2015 LPA Guardrail Upgrade Fund. It will be fund number 1195. A resolution authorizing Holly M. Stacy, President of the Board, to prepare and submit the application to the Tiffin Charitable Foundation for the Seneca County Museum repairs. A resolution selecting Stantec Consulting Services as the Seneca County Airport architectural engineer and authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement for said purpose. And I have a resolution establishing the Community Housing Improvement Program CHIP Fund, fund number 3157. And that's all the resolutions I have.
Okay, do I have a motion on those resolutions as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
A motion and a second. Any comments, questions, anything? Okay, seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes, all approved, thank you. All right. This would move us to our old business, and let's go to the topic of the Justice Center, as we have three things listed here. First, and then at that time, we can open our discussion, and then we can lead that into citizens' comments. I'll just remind all citizens' comments that based on time frame, we ask that you identify yourself and keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes. So let's talk about the Justice Center as we have it on here.
If I can ask a member of the audience, I've asked Lenny Klaus to come in as an independent contractor and just try to give the board some guidance or advice on when is the opportune time. He's not committing to one way or other, but what is the opportune time for the bidding process? And Lenny, I guess my question to you is there a more preferable time for us to have the design and architect thing ready that can get out to bid? Is there a better time that's advantageous to us?
Yeah, it'd be great if you could get the scope of work and the plans completed by November, December, and get it out for bid so guys can bid on it during that time, last quarter or first quarter of the year. November, December would be great. In January, if it drags on a little bit, something like that, so everybody can get the wheels spinning. You'll get the optimum price at those bid times.
Thank you, Letty. I know that you have a meeting
Yeah.
in Finley. You got to be there, and I appreciate.
Okay.
I
All
kind
right.
of bent your ear yesterday to ask you to get in there because I think that's important for this board to understand. There's reason why we want to keep this project moving. We all understand that increased costs and so forth, but the timing of the year is certainly
Oh, yeah.
advantageous to us too, and how we position that.
And a lot of prices are going up and interest rates might also, so those are things you've got to take into consideration, because everybody here and in the county have to pay for it, so the best job we can do for the bucks is the best,
Good.
right?
Thank you, Lenny. I
All
know you
right,
got to
thank
get to
you.
Finley.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, is the, wishes of the board to continue discussion on the Justice Center at this time, or do you want to?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Any comments from either of you for what we'd like to?
I'd like to hear the audience at this point if that's possible. I know there's some people here specifically have some specific ideas they'd like to discuss. Is that possible?
Yep, that is. So we will have citizens' comments at this time. Councilman Pope.
Come up front.
Sure.
Yes, please.
If you, that way you'll get on the camera, not just your voice.
All right. Well, my name's Rich Vogt. I'm here to represent Tiffin City Council today. I'm the 4th Ward Councilman. First of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for coming down to our meeting last Thursday. We all felt that it was very productive. There was a lot of good discussion, and personally, I learned a lot from the dialogue. If you didn't read in the paper today, we also wanted you to know, and that was another reason for being here today, that last night the City Council passed a resolution of support for $10 million. We're all in on the Joint Justice Center, so from a financial standpoint, we're ready to go. And we also know that this project needs to move forward as quickly as possible. And as I said last week, I appreciate what the commissioners have done to keep things moving ahead post haste. We want to see that happen as well. There are still some questions that we have from the discussion last night, and at our meeting last night, we discussed some of those things that gaps in our understanding of the project. The concept of the construction manager risk, construction manager. We realize too, I think, that we're a minority player in this. The county's the big dog. You guys are putting in the majority of the funds. We're a minority player. I think that moving ahead, though, it's important, just like a foundation is the most important part of the construction process, to have a good building. I think that setting up an administrative foundation for the scope of the work and how this is all going to come to fruition is going to be equally as important for us, because, as we've talked before, this isn't a one-time shot for us. We have other projects that, if we get it right this time, it's going to make it a lot easier for us moving ahead to do some other significant things. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind. Some of the questions that need to be answered, and at least from our standpoint, and I think that maybe you've already decided, but the delivery of the construction method, that needs to be better understood by us so that we can make an informed decision. There's going to be participants in this process that are going to have to be hired: architects, engineers, the construction manager at risk, project manager. We're also going to have to hire somebody to handle inspection. So there's a host of things. And then getting into the mechanics of how the process is going to move forward once the building's built between the city and the county. And I mean, those are things that we talked about as well. What we would like to ask your permission and just to bear with us, if you would. John Larson from, it used to be Squire Sanders and Dempsey, that's what I knew, now it's Squires Patton and Boggs, I guess. They have volunteered, they're the bond counsel for the city and the county both. John Larson has volunteered to have their construction law representatives come down and talk to us about the various method of delivery for a project like this, give us some other feedback on other things that they've done. And we think that it won't cost us a cent to do that. And we want to do it as quickly as possible. Brent's trying to get, Brent Howard, our law director, is trying to get it set up for Thursday at 5:15 or Monday at 5:15. I haven't heard back from him yet as to which one of those two dates. I think once we got through that, then we're gonna have a better understanding of that side of things. And then I think the other thing, we have to figure out, how the COG's gonna factor in all of this. So those are some things that, moving ahead, I think that we need to have more dialogue. I'll be glad to hear whatever feedback you have on that. But again, I want to thank you for the time, and we're looking forward to seeing this project move ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Others for citizens' comments? Councilman Hartzell?
May I just do mine here?
You may.
I'm just going to give a couple short comments if you don't mind. I really appreciate the council that we have both in the city and in the county, meaning Mr. Howard and Mr. Devine. And it's to our benefit, I believe, to accept their recommendations as far as the steps that we should take in proceeding with a program. And it is their recommendation that we go with the counsel from the bonding agency. As Mr. Fold has already stated, we want to move ahead just like the county does with the project, but we want to do it in an intelligent and a manner that's going to be best for the city, and that each of us can go and have an understanding of what's going on. Not just go in there and be given a certain amount of information that we have to absorb in a very short amount of time. I think this is a project that needs considerable thought. It also needs some guidance from not only the city and the county, but from outside sources that have worked these kind of projects, as their livelihood, so that they're going to be a better source of information than maybe we would have trying to feel our way through. And with those thoughts, I would just like to say thank you very much for letting me speak here, and I hope that the project can move forward in a timely and very productive manner. Thanks.
Thank you. Others for citizens' comments? Mr. Goshi?
Gentleman Goshi, I'm sitting here, and I've been a county citizen all my life. I was born in Seneca County. I've lived in Tiffin for 60 years plus. It seems to me that the present situation in Tiffin is trying to intimidate the county, which consists of a lot more than Tiffin, to do their will. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done as far as the joint center, but Tiffin's supposedly going to have a 25% investment in it, and the county 75%. Anything that I'm getting indication is that Tiffin wants to have at least 50% of the say in it, and 25% of the cost. I was wondering if it would be possible for the county and the city to agree, for the county to build the whole building, and the city to agree to a lease on it for a given period of time at a given amount to repay the county for the use of the building. That's about all I have for now, but it seems to me like the city of Tiffin is trying to intimidate the rest of the people of Seneca County. And being an old geezer from Seneca County, I don't really appreciate the intimidation factor of it, and that's what it amounts to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goshi. Other comments? Your Honor, Bishop.
There's been some misunderstanding. On the construction phase of this project, the city is not 25%. The city is 14%. Judge Rep is 11%, which makes up the 25. And the county is not 75%. The county is 63%, and the judges are 12%, the county judges. So essentially, construction, not operating. Construction is 63% for the county, 23% of the judge's money, and 14% of the city of Tiffin's money. And I think that should be brought out, that while it's 75-25 is what's talked about, and that will be the operating issue, but the construction is a little different in that 63% is the county, 23% is the judges, and 14% is the city. That amount and the amount that was passed last night by City Council was discussed in March of this year.
The $10 million.
Yeah. In March, mid-March. If we're going to meet a November, December deadline for bidding process, which would be the most advantageous for the taxpayers of Seneca County and the city of Tiffin, we need to proceed with some type of facilitator to move this project forward. So I want to give my comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments. Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Steve Leopard, City Councilman. I wasn't really going to speak this morning because I think Councilman Fote said it all on behalf of Tiffin City Council's interest. Mr. Goshi brought up the intimidation factor, and that's what I'd like to speak to the commissioners about. I think the intimidation factor comes from ESC COG. During our meeting last Thursday when we asked about qualifications, ESC COG had no interest in discussing qualifications. They did not want to be a partner in this program if qualifications were allowed. It simply tells me that they feel they're not qualified. Members of the COG also claimed, off the record, we don't want this to be printed in the paper. What do they have to hide from the public? Don't know. It doesn't speak well for them in my mind. There were some remarks made by members of ESC COG upon the adjournment of the meeting. I don't know if everyone caught those remarks, but the remark was, "This is bullshit," which indicates to me they have a total disregard for the city council, they have a total disregard for the county commissioners, and they have a total disregard for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments from anybody this time? I'm seeing none. Do we continue any discussion on the Justice Center at this time?
Yeah, I will certainly agree that the comments made by the COG last week were not necessarily constructive to get the project done. And I will certainly be the first to admit that the COG is not got the qualifications for project manager. But what the COG does have, and I've been with this project, I'm not gonna say from the beginning, because I know Judge Shuff has been on it for 16 years, but from the beginning of my tenure is when we really started talking seriously about, and we have to realize, the reason for the Justice Center, the nucleus here, is we have a security problem, municipal court, we have a space problem at the juvenile probate court, we have an ADA accessibility issue, so there's a reason that's bringing all this together. And when we started the project, I know Councilman Fote, you were involved with it. We had very good people with very good intentions that we would set out at the back of TJ Willie's and try to work out this process. And again, good people with good intentions. We were going nowhere after numerous meetings. And when we got the COG involved with it, all of a sudden, as a facilitator, we were able to come up with a plan and an agenda, and we were able to move it together. Did they have the expertise to do a study? No, but what they did is they brought in the Burgess and Nyepel people after interviewing various sources, brought in a very reputable firm that did a very thorough investigation of the process and made recommendations. So again, did the COG have that experience? No, but they had the experience to bring in those people. So I bring it to today. We understand the importance of increased costs through interest rates, through construction costs, by the admission of a very reputable builder in town. The timeliness of letting this out for bid is also to our advantage here, so to keep this process moving. And what I'm realizing more than ever is the importance of a COG is exactly where we are at today. I know that the city and the county are absolutely in alliance that we have to do a project. Where we run into some issues is how to carry this thing out. What better reason for having a mediator, have someone in the middle? And that's where I think the COG can be that mediator, be that middle person. The COG has shown with their past experience that they can bring the powers to be the experts on the subject and bring them to the table here and help us keep us on a timeline that is important to the taxpayers of Seneca County and the city of Tiffin, and they can put that together. Now, with that all being said, I understand we have some issues with financially. What is it worth? Is it worth $50,000? Is it worth $100,000? Is it worth $200,000? I don't know. We have to work those things out. But the importance of the COG to be an instrumental part of this process is extremely important in my mind because of those reasons, because of what I've seen in the past. I don't want to, on a $10 million project, I don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. I don't want to spend the taxpayers' money willy-nilly, but it is my feeling if we can keep this project moving and move it in on a pace that fits everybody, that they can actually save us more money than what it's going to cost them. It's no different than me in my business environment. When I go out and buy a new piece of equipment to make the operation more efficient, I hate to spend that money. But the reason for it is to make the operation more efficient, to make me more money down the road. And that's where I think this investment with the COG, and I realize we have to work out some financial arrangements with it, but I believe that payback is no different than me buying a piece of equipment to help me down the road. That payback for us investing in the COG today will help us down the road.
Would you like to comment on anything?
Sure. Thank you. Well, I think that, first of all, last Thursday, nobody did themselves many favors when it came to the conversation regarding the COG at the open council meeting. But the council members, except for Mrs. Richler and Aaron, weren't really aware of the work that had been done up to that point by the Council of Government. There is some question as to who ought to be the major participants in the leadership committee. There is some question as to whether or not a $200,000 or $300,000 figure is worth what we would spend for a facilitator, and I agree with all that. There certainly is some question. I do believe that whatever we decide, we need, the royal we, the city and the county, that we need to have somebody, call it what you will, a mediator, a facilitator, somebody, I don't want to say uninterested, but a third party who simply has the best interest of moving the project forward at heart, and no axe to grind and no other agenda, but to bring the two entities together. This is a unique situation. I don't believe, the three entities, excuse me, including the judges, I don't believe that there is currently a joint justice center in the state of Ohio. We have an opportunity to do a project that can make this generation proud and future generation proud. We don't have that opportunity very often as a government. We need to figure out a way to have that project facilitated so that we can indeed move forward. I am in receipt of and have reviewed, the flow chart and the Gantt chart as it relates to how the project needs to move along. As I had said earlier today, I think about this project as we meet, and I certainly think about it during the course of the day, but it's not something that is, it's something that's on my mind all the time. I feel more comfortable that there is somebody out there facilitating this process whose job it is to continue to move this thing forward. My concern is if we don't have that it will falter and maybe not move in the same direction that it should, as quickly as it should, and as efficiently as it should. Am I 3 minutes up yet? So I would ask us, I think that we all need to continue to have open minds. I think that listening to Mr. Larson, who is counsel for the county and the city, is not a bad idea. I think that so we need to consider that as the Board of Commissioners. I would ask that the city of Tiffin keep an open mind as it relates to involving a third party and try to grab and have some appreciation for what the COG has done thus far. I mean, you've got to look through that flow chart, you've got to look through what they've accomplished at this point to get a sense and a feel of what's out there. I don't think that anybody is trying to intimidate anybody with respect to Mr. Goshi, all due respect. At least I hope that's not the case. I believe that in our hearts, we have the best interest of the people that we are elected to serve. And I believe that we might go about it in different ways, some quicker and some maybe a little more slower pace, but I believe that we all have the best interest of those we represent. So I would ask the city council to keep an open mind as it relates to the COG, because I believe they can be an important part of this. But I would also ask the commissioners to keep an open mind, understanding from the base from which the city's coming, and I think maybe that's the problem. The city's coming, the city council, most of them are coming from a base of last Thursday's meeting. If I had to make a decision based on that exchange, I'd be sitting right where you are. But I have to make a decision based on what I know previous to that and including that give and take. So I will be silent. Mr. Leper, I think, wants to speak.
Yes, Councilman Leper.
Thank you. I'd just like to say my remarks are my own personal remarks. They do not represent city council.
Thank you.
May not represent.
Judge Schaff.
And what Mike has said, and I've been in this process since the beginning, COG has probably done 30, maybe 40 meetings, and I was not at Thursday nights, but I do know the 30 or 40 meetings that we have had over the last several years, 2.5 years, have been very advantageous to moving this project forward. And if the county, the city, and the judges decide a facilitator is necessary, and my personal opinion is a facilitator is necessary because of the uniqueness of this project. The city, the judges, and the county are all coming together and putting money in this project. The facilitator is needed. Then it makes the most sense that we use who has the most experience with this project, which has been the COG from day one, and who is local and evidently has a passion for this project, maybe too much passion at times. But we ought to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. To share my comments at this time is that I appreciate where we've been and where we are at currently. The meeting on Thursday was a great opportunity for some open dialogue with all of us present and at your meeting of the whole. And that was a great opportunity. There was a number of things learned through that dialogue process that night. Where we've come to keeping, and we've gotten there because we all do have the focus on doing what's best for the citizens across the county, in the city, and we've based that on the suggestions and the guidelines and the physical needs, as well as what the judges have shared with us on how this will work well together. And we've all come to this project this far because of that focus on those two things. You know, better service and the physical needs of our court systems. And that, for that part alone, it's quite exciting to be where we're at. And I think to be where we're at with all of us getting engaged and getting up to speed at the same part. Versus, yes, it takes us initiators to get things going and all the meetings that have been held and so forth. But now the governing bodies over both the city and the county, I feel, we are getting to being all on the same page in understanding all different aspects of the project. And I think it's more important than ever that we continue moving together forward. And that, Councilman Folt, you said it, the single most important thing that we do is in selection of an administrator, if we're going to have one, and or project manager. And I think that's of utmost importance because we need to be into that 100% together. Because this person and everything I've looked at, everyone I've talked to at professional levels, of those qualified to do such, to those who've utilized some, to professional organizations and everything else, will tell you that this is the person you're going to rely on. This person's going to be our right arm for both organizations. And if we make that decision together on how that administration portion is going to look and work, it's going to keep this project moving forward, because we've all said it, we all want it. We want it to move forward, and we want it to stay in a timely fashion and keep moving forward. We don't want our interest rates to go up. We don't want our material costs to go up. We want to just keep moving this forward, and we've got the breakdown of the monies as outlined by the judge to make it happen. And so I think it's exciting to be where we're at currently. I would like to propose that we put together a plan, we, meaning council and the Board of Commissioners, and I'd be glad to have this up and work with either the mayor or Councilman Folt, any of you, council president, whoever it is. It's going to come back to both groups. It's not going to be any couple people, but again, we can't do everything by a large group or committee, but yet that large group needs to have the understanding and come along and trust in the representatives working on this together, and put together a plan that details if we're having a project administrator, which I could see a role, maybe the COG fulfilling that part if it fits in what they've done to date. And then a manager, the person with experience in construction that's going to call those shots, save us money, keep a project moving, and not have it cost us more money as we move forward. Someone with that actual type of experience who will have the professional expertise to work with our construction manager at risk, if we go that method, whatever method we go, the owner's rep, the architect, that is tying those pieces together. And we continue to keep moving things forward. That's just, again, single most important thing we do is looking at how this management is going to happen. We need to do this quickly. I'm anxious to talk with the folks from the council in the meeting Thursday or Friday with the legal folks. I think that'll be very, very beneficial for all of us to be there. We just have to keep moving forward. But if we're going to jump into the next step and not step back maybe one or two steps right now and look at the big picture and get this set up, and let's relaunch all together, and this will be a better project in the end. That's my opinions. Anything else on the Justice Center topic that anyone needs to share at this point in time? And now we'll continue with the rest of our agenda of things. Okay, I'm seeing.
I believe we need to set a time, if it is the desire of this commission and of city council that we set aside a decision today to go with the COG, and we decided we want to meet with Squires and Dempsey or whatever next week, Thursday or Monday, that we set a deadline and we make a decision no later than next Tuesday at the Commissioners' meeting. We have to go forward. I have been informed by Judge Rep that he is so supportive of this process, he is willing to pick up the city's portion. Because one of the issues at last Thursday's meeting was that the city wanted to know at what time, you know, none of us know what the actual cost is gonna be. If this project comes in at 13 million, quite frankly, I'm out. And I understand that we all have to have an opportunity to, you know, how much are we gonna have to invest till we say we're out? And that was one of the issues that the city had, and it's a very valid concern. And before, how much money are you gonna have to invest till we can determine if we're out? And Judge Rep has committed and is so committed to this project that he is willing to put his money, which is, and we have to understand the judge's money, and Judge Shelf, you can define this for me, I think it's from the Furtherance of Justice Fund, is that the?
General Special Projects Fund. it's
Special
called.
Projects Fund.
It's
They
a
can
court
use it-
fee we add on to every case,
Okay,
and we've been doing it for 15 years.
okay, you can use it for technology or bricks and mortar. Okay, so Judge, it is at the sole discretion of the judge. The judges, the common pleas judge, have control over their funds. We have no control over it. If they want to be gracious enough to put it in the same way with the municipal court, that's at the sole discretion of Judge Rep. And he is willing to pick up the city's share of this project to get it to the bid, to get it to a bid project. If that's up to, I gotta state up to 125,000. So if it's 500,000, it's gonna cost us to get it up to a bid. He's willing to put the city's share of that into there. And if you remember right, last week with the COG, they mentioned to get this thing to the actual bid where we know what the number is, it's somewhere between 250 to 500, so. And I think that's a very, very generous offer, and it's a way to keep this project moving. I am receptive to turn one more stone. And that stone would be to listen to this council, the Squires and Dempsey, or Squires and whoever.
John Larson.
John Larson, okay. But I would ask this commission that we would set a date. And we can say, we're gonna say that, okay, as of next Tuesday, we gotta make a decision.
But what's most important is that we would make this decision together, so long as we've been able to do our research and said, I'm gonna work on a proposal, I'm hoping with somebody representing the city, and put together details of the responsibilities, cost estimates of project administration, project manager, separate or together, a timeline for that. But even though the construction costs are different based on occupancy of a building, these types of decisions are 100% need to be lock and step, both organizations. It's not that we get 75% of this type of a decision. That's just the money end of it, but that this is a decision that's a 50-50 decision, in my opinion, and we need to have it together. Well, I mean, it's just in terms of the management moving forward and the advisement and so forth, and then construction is all of the entities as broken down by the judge, respectfully.
Let me make one more
Yep.
comment. I don't know if this is the final comment or not, but it has to give you some thoughts to know that those people who have been involved in this project the longest and have taken the most time to consider exactly what needs to be done to move this forward, the majority of those folks believe that the COG should be involved. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. The majority of the people that have been involved since the beginning, the judges, a couple of the commissioners, believed that the best process by which to accomplish this task is to continue to involve the COG. So it's got to give you at least a little pause to know that those people who have been involved in it for the longest period of time, take out Thursday's meeting, believe that that's the proper methodology to use. So there is some dissent about that, don't get me wrong, but the majority of the folks do believe that.
Okay, yes, Councilman Hayes.
I think, and I appreciate all the comments, and I think when, I don't want to speak for Brent Howard, but just as Commissioner Zoller said, this meeting with Larson, we can all speak the same language. Like Fred just talked about putting it out for bid. if you go with the project manager, or risk manager, there's no bid. He makes a selection. So we all need to know that process. So when we're on the street, we're all speaking the same language. I mean, there's different roles and different, and none of us really know right now. So that's why I'd like to see Larson come.
To my understanding, Councilman Hayes, is the process that the COG would work. I look at it more like a funnel. They're gonna interview a bunch of people for project managers, for architects, for, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they're gonna boil, now we as the leadership team are available for, we can make ourselves available for any of those interviews. They're gonna boil it down to 2 or 3. We, as city council commissioners and judges, will make the final selection. It's always in our hands to make that final selection. We just don't have to go through and interview 10 people to boil it down to a couple.
See, that's not my understanding.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you. And that, I guess that's part of the problem, Commissioner Zoller, is that last week, what I heard was that the COG was going to be responsible for all of that. And so therein lies part of the problem, communication. And I think that, I agree, I think the COG's done a wonderful job getting us to this point, and there's probably a role for them to play, but you know, what's the definition of that role? I think we have to better understand that. So, and today, I certainly don't know what that is, but I think if we get it pinned down and do it right, I think that we'll be in good shape.
My suggestion here, and I was unaware that you guys didn't understand that, is to list the points of what you think, what you're unclear on with the COG, and let them define it.
I don't think it's the COG, it's whether we have a project manager, and it's the same thing. How do we get to the general contract? How do we get to the architect? Is that a bid thing where you pick like you say, or?
There's been a leadership team on this project for months. We have discussed that many times, and the mayor's on that. We have discussed build design, we have discussed competitive bidding, we've discussed
Manager at risk.
construction manager at risk. We've had counsel there, legal counsel. We've had judges, all the judges. We've discussed this endlessly. I shouldn't say endlessly, a lot. And the mayor's been there, and we've discussed it. And we have a flow chart of the pros and cons of each way based on projects, and I can share those with you. Evidently, you have not seen those. So these things have been discussed and talked about numerous times.
Yeah,
Meetings.
there has already been counsel at the leadership group that has discussed each of these options, and it kind of boiled down to, you know, the question was asked last Thursday, well, the statement was made, the commissioners made a decision, it's gonna be construction manager at risk. Well, we haven't formally made that decision, but that was the advice from the council to, or from the leadership group to us, that made the most sense. And it made the most sense based on the fact that they had their own counsel there, who went through each of the methodologies. And the joke was made, well, we don't know if we have enough attorneys here or not, except I think 3 of the judges were there who I think are attorneys. And then, you know, their counsel, and I think the county's counsel and the city's counsel. But the fact is that not all of us, only one of us were at those meetings, and not all of you, being city council, were at those meetings because of either timing or because of who was representing or whatever. But that's what I was saying, that you need to go through that. You need to go through the book that was put together by the COG that answers virtually every question you have here. Freddie's point is well taken. List the questions that you have. But the point that we try, what we attempted to do was have a leadership committee there that absorbed this information and then took it back to their individual groups to explain it to them, or at least to hand them the information. You know, I've read through the Burgess and Nyquist study 4 or 5 times. I've read through the COGS flowchart numerous times. I've talked to a number of people who have done projects this size and much larger. And I've talked to a number of people who talk about what total costs, soft costs of a building this size ought to be. So I'm at a point where I feel comfortable with the numbers that are out there. You guys obviously aren't, I get that. But that's, you know, that's why I said at some point, we have to take a leap of faith and say, this is where the project's gonna be, and we need to move forward with it. But as the judge said, this stuff has been discussed almost to the point of beating it to death. But we're willing to discuss it again. But the fact is, don't think for a minute that getting to this decision didn't include those discussions.
What's important is, as mentioned, is that the communications is clear, it's two-way and all across the board, and no one was trying for it not to be, but I think that obviously some of that hasn't occurred, and so as I said, I think we need to be willing to step back a little bit as we are gonna move forward so that we can all be on the same page and understand what the plan is and no assumptions made. Because even if it means, you know, meetings in the public of both groups as this or as the meeting Thursday night, I guess, the meeting of the whole, and we were all there, so we can have that good productive dialogue. You know, like I said, we take those steps all for the betterment of moving this, and then as it moves forward. And like I said, I'm gonna work on putting some things together, and if there's a representative of council and or whomever you wanna direct me to talk to and ask to, you know, work with me on it and or share it through whatever, and I'll be sharing it when we're back here next Tuesday. Just for more detail on what I think we need to see. I don't know, that's just my thoughts where I'm at with it. Anything else Justice Center related? If not, then we're gonna continue with our agenda, but before we go on to old business, we've got some folks here. In regards to a bid opening, we were scheduled to do at approximately 10:30 for issue 1, round 29.
The expensive attorney's waiting for us to call too.
Yeah, we've got attorneys waiting for us, so let's do the bid opening. In respect to those folks.
Sign in sheet.
Sure.
Huh?
Call Katie.
She tried. I have 2 bids. First bid is from Gherkin Paving Incorporated out of Napoleon, Ohio. And this is for the issue 1 project. Let's see. Engineer's estimate for this project is $1,082,167.62. 1,082,167.62. Bid from Gherkin is $1,049,797.35. 1,049,797.35. Second bid is from M&B Asphalt Company Incorporated out of Old Fort, Ohio. Total bid amount for this project is $1,039,351.43. 1,039,351.43. Those are the only 2 I have.
Okay. Appreciate both of you bidding on the project, and those,
Thank you.
those bids will be reviewed by the, thank you, by the engineer. And go from there. Okay. All right, continuing on down, do we want to take the call with with Katie Kleinfeld and John Larson on the financing conference call. Do you want to do the other old items that we have on the agenda? What's your?
Let's take his call first, because the Bill's, he's probably, his clock's ticking since 10:30.
Yeah, in the calendar has the phone number and the extension to call.
I'm putting him on this phone.
Yes.
You did 99, right?
Yep.
1-866-365-4406.
Welcome to Ready Access by Level 3 Communications. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign.
826-325-6.
Here, please stand by. If you are the chairperson, press the star key now. For your chairperson passcode, then press pound.
The chairperson can't pass them. Oh, maybe I'm not the chairperson.
You're not chairperson.
Sorry, I'm not the head. So now what do I do?
Just hit pounds.
Okay.
Screen is not valid. Please enter the correct
She said she
digit,
talked to
then
her.
press pound.
And we can try back at 11:15.
Pardon?
She said we could try back at
Oh,
11:15.
okay, okay.
Okay.
And Tanya call her.
All right, let's continue with our items of old business that we had. We had museum structural improvements listed. One thing, as committed to at a previous board session, was that we would complete an application to ask for funding from the Tiffin Charitable Foundation. That application is complete, and the one resolution, which we've already passed at this session, allowing me to sign that application for the request for funding through them. We did, so I can sign that now, and we'll get that delivered. The deadline's tomorrow, so we're in good shape there. The engineering through Palmer, I was gonna say Palmer, it gave us some good guidelines to make that a better application. Although, I don't know when we're gonna get the details from them with, the plan of the scope of work that needs to be done for the structure of the museum. But anyway, they were of great assistance, and like I said, the application's done. Just asking for 20, outlined they asked for a one-page summary and financial outline indicating that, one, we're paying for a scope of services report out of our general fund. We're asking 20 from them, we'll ask 20 from the Barnsteinzer, and possibly 20 from us. And then as a phase 1 and phase 2, maybe another 40,000 from other charitable and/or our funding. And another cycle year as possibility. The total comes to 100,000. Again, not knowing what we need at this point, but we have a deadline to get this application in, and I wanted to give them an outline of where we anticipated, and it's a guesstimate, of what we might be at. And I think they'll respect that in understanding that we will phase this if we can. If the guidelines are gonna tell us that you better not do that, you gotta do this, this, and that, and do it all together and do it now, then that's what we have to do, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. But that's where it's at, and the part I said I do.
I had a meeting with the foundation yesterday, I guess. And what I am asking is, again, the total project is 100,000. And I think we would do that in a two-phase process, 50 and a 50. I understand we're dealing with Palmer to get specifications for it. And what I'm asking for the Museum Foundation, if they would contribute 50,000 towards a project, but in a 2-year commitment, 25 and 25. The loan application got with the Tiffin Charitable Foundation would be a total of 20,000, but broken down into a 10 and 10. And I have spoken with the people.
Loan application or grant application?
Grant application. I'm sorry. And then that would mean, if those things come to fruition, that would mean a contribution from the county or / CDBG, whichever way we wanted to go, would be a total of 30, but that would be broken down into a 15 and 15 process. So again, total process is 100,000, and we would break it down over 2 years at each entity. And I said, before we move further on it, we need to really understand, is the Tiffin Charitable, are they gonna approve it? And that's, I guess that approval process is sometime around the mid-June. And the Museum Foundation, is it, I gotta make sure I use the right, is it the foundation?
Yeah,
Okay.
Barnes Dining.
Okay, that one is the second week of July is when that is. And then at that point, then we are gonna have to, we as the county are gonna have to commit, are we gonna go for CDBG or are we gonna take it out of general funds? But again, that would be a 30,000 maximum if the other two contribute at that level, and it would be a 2-year commitment of 15 and 15. Now, in addition to that, I have asked the Barnes, whatever, to make a list of what they feel the recommendations of the improvements they want to see. Okay, and then I'm going to ask the same thing if we can contact the Historical Society, have them make a list and put it in order of what they think. So we can give those to the engineer. So when he makes his assessment, we have input from both sides and categorize, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we let this contract out and give the specifications, we can then have it categorized based on some of the contributors, what they feel they would like to see the improvements made.
Well,
Go ahead, Mike.
I would just want to make certain that this $100,000 number is a number that we, at this point, for lack of a better way of saying it, pulling out of the air, because we don't know what exactly the improvements are that need to be done. And I would want to make certain that the structural improvements for the integrity of the building were done in advance of any quote-unquote gingerbread improvements. So I don't know what physically, I don't know if the physical integrity of the building is such that we'll have much more than 100 to fix that physical integrity. I know that there's a problem with that porch and the overhang over it and the foundation under it. That in itself will be significant money. And are there other things, as far as HVAC systems and those kind of things? Our job is, that we agreed to, was to make sure that we took care of the physical plant. So I just want to make sure that we use this money wisely and not use it for anything other than making certain that the building itself is sound.
And that is exactly, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, and I think once we kind of get I'm calling it a scope of work, unless that's the correct terminology, from Palmer, I think that's gonna be the expertise on it, and on the structures, what they're gonna look at, that's the way they're gonna come through with it. And then we can compare that to the priority list of theirs, and obviously we gotta lean to what the experts say. If they both said priorities is they wanted, this done, but they're gonna go, well, if you don't fix this, you might as well not fix that. Obviously, we'll lean on that. So we'll have time to evaluate, I think appropriately, all of this information. By the time we get that from Palmer, we probably will have heard from at least, one avenue of this funding source from the Tiffin Charitable Foundation, and then we can,
Well, it's always difficult to make improvements of things you can't see.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
digging out a wall, making certain wall solid, and then throwing dirt back on it. You spend a lot of money, but you don't see any improvement.
Right. So, it's, I think, like I said, we've got the wheels going, to make sure we get some things done there that need to be addressed, that are a little more on the critical, above routine maintenance, so we will keep on that path. County vehicles are listed.
Yeah, we brought that up, I wanna say a couple months ago. The youth center needed a vehicle and we gave them our van. And I had suggested maybe we looked into replacing that van, and you wanted to allow some time to go by to see if the van another vehicle would even be necessary. Just in May alone, we had 13 requests for the van, and I don't think that was even including the architecture or the Board of Revisions. So I asked Tanya to get some prices on maybe not a van, maybe more of a mid-size like an SUV, because people like a little bit more room. They take 4 people. So we're looking, the state term pricing for Jeep is about $20,000, all the way up to the Ford Explorers was about $27,000. But I didn't know if you'd be interested, if you want to think about it, let it go for a little while longer before we.
Well, what's the average number, on those 13 requests, what's the average number of people that were gonna be using that vehicle that day? You have an idea? I mean, to get more than 4 people in an SUV is certainly uncomfortable. To get, 6 people in a van
Sure.
is relatively comfortable. So, the point
It
is.
was more than 4. I know a couple, or Dave Gross had used it for, was looking for it for equipment. To carry around his LAPC equipment. He needed to go to Columbus to pick up stuff. He asked quite a few times, and then, who was the other request for the vans?
Victims assistance and probate, or juvenile, it was Jim
Jarrett, yeah.
And he usually has one with him, and sometimes he'll get 1 or 2 kids, and whether they're doing community service or whatever they're doing.
And those are the days that both of the other vehicles were out too. So we didn't have a vehicle for anybody to use. Just wanted to bring it up because last month was quite a, we've not noticed that. We even asked the sheriff if he was still using our Grand Dam, because we were having so many people ask for vehicles, we just didn't have any. And he's still using it, they take it to trainings. It's a 99 Grand Dam, we don't use it much, so they usually take it to trainings. So,
99,
it's a 99 Grand
it
Dam.
still runs?
It does.
Hey, I
The other 2 we have are 2007s, I think, the Ford Fusion and the Cobalt, or I think we bought in 2007.
So it's probably interest for larger groups and those hauling equipment, are probably pretty much equal in the demand for the bigger vehicles,
Yeah.
is what we're hearing. So we don't want just a 6-seater vehicle that has no cargo space in it.
Right.
I got a couple ambulances.
Well, there we go, they got a lot of cargo
I got a
space.
92 and a 93 that have less than 50,000 miles.
Kind of a rough ride, though.
They ride like a grain wagon.
So I just wanted to bring an update, something for you guys to think about.
Okay.
We'll still keep track, and actually, it was kind of an unusual month. We normally use all 3 vehicles, but last month there was quite a few requests.
Yeah, well, I think that, again, I don't want to be pound foolish here. It's like every other piece of equipment. You probably need to replace things as you use them because you want to make sure that fleet, I'm afraid, joking about the age of the one, but, I mean, the fact of the matter is 07s pretty soon are going to be to the point where there's a lot of miles on them. So, what's the newest vehicle we have in our fleet for
The
07?
Our,
I think,
yeah.
The time has come. It's 8 years later, and, we don't have another vehicle to replace what we had. We might have been smarter to maybe turn those
Rotate,
over a
yeah.
couple of times. So, anyways, I would hope that we seriously consider replacing that van, or with whatever vehicle makes the most sense, and also consider maybe updating the fleet.
She did check
So-
for a full-size car, more like, I think Judge Meyer has a Taurus. And for some reason, state purchasing isn't doing a full-size vehicle. It goes down to like the Fusion or the Cobalt. They have state return pricing on that, but some reason they're not listing a full-size car,
Okay.
Impala, or some of the larger full-size cars. They don't have that listed on the state term
Okay.
this year so far, which is unusual, but yeah, she did look up that for a car instead of if we didn't want a van or an SUV.
I'm sure we don't have any policy, but I would think that maybe some policy regarding cars that our employees drive ought to have some type of a rotation. or
Vehicle
some type of-
replacement policy. We have one in EMS, but I don't think the county has
Yeah.
one.
I
No,
mean,
we don't.
When they get such age, when they get so many miles, or whatever, I don't want to drive around with stuff that,
Yeah, break down.
yeah, that might break down or it may be unsafe.
And also from a budget standpoint, all of a sudden, if you're gonna start, one year, you're gonna replace 3 vehicles.
Yeah.
You just try to keep it,
And
every
that's
so
what we
many
did.
years, you just keep them renewed. If not,
Yeah.
you're reaping, you got the advantage today, but it's gonna catch up with you.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, maybe that's something the new maintenance supervisor can get us on a schedule for, a recommendation for after he looks at the fleet.
Sure.
Okay. Well, no, that's everything, other than the, whatever dates Nikki wanted to bring up, but is it too early to call Katie? Do we want to go into the executive session?
Did you have
Can
any
that be-
comments about the LA vacation? We don't have to say anything about that.
No, we just had the hearing.
Okay.
Or viewing.
Viewing. The viewing of the alley, that there was interest in someone requesting a vacating in Pleasant Township.
Fort Seneca proper.
Yeah, Fort Seneca proper.
First time I went to a viewing at 9 in the morning, I can tell you.
And so the hearing will, where we will hear comments and so forth, will be
Next
Tuesday.
week.
Tuesday at our session, okay. Is there, is the time before we make the call to the attorneys to do the executive session?
Yeah, I know he has to,
You've got
I'm
a-
working on pushing my next appointment back, so
Okay. Well,
go ahead and do what you need to do.
we can at least do, if we
We
can't
can.
get it all covered, we'll just end executive session in time to do the other, but we can do,
Right.
we got two different items with executive session, both related to personnel. So let's do that. I call for a motion.
You got it.
Okay, second.
Second it.
Motion and second to go into executive session. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes, it's 11:06.
just want to go in the back.
Let's just go to the back and